Hello guys, thanks for joining me today. We're going to walk through the process of fixing a motorcycle. I've got my engine a little bit disassembled already, but I think you can catch along pretty easily. So I've been having problems with the transmission, the turning of the engine at all. One of the first parts I have here is actually all the clutch plates. These, I just took them all off. Here's the engine itself. If you look over here, this is where all the clutch plates went. This is kind of like the transmission area over here. And this is like one of the main spindle parts. So that's taken apart. Let's walk through some of the other tools you're going to need today, or some of the supplies in general. You're going to want a set of Allen keys. This one is really big. You probably won't need one this big. But it's nice to have these long ones you can stick down the holes. Next thing, you're going to want some various forms of pliers and things for grabbing stuff. Obviously screwdrivers. Generally you want at least a couple flatheads, as well as a few different sized Phillips. Lots of rags. The more rags the merrier. You'll probably go through hundreds of rags. I also like to have a pretty large one of these ones. A pretty big one. Gets a lot of leverage to just twist things when I'm... You're going to want some of the other parts for your engine, because you actually would definitely not be able to run the engine at all unless you had all these components here to seal it up again. These things all become very, very important. You couldn't keep oil inside the engine. You wouldn't be able to keep pressure on the cylinder going up and down. You wouldn't even be able to put the spark or have a place for the gasoline to go. So that's very important. You're going to want a hammer. Hammers are always good when working on tools or any automobiles, motorcycles, anything. You're going to want a snack, because sometimes you can get hungry while working. And grab yourself a few beers, maybe a 6-pack per day, or every hour. Drink about 6 or so beers. And a coffee machine is never a bad answer. In the midst of this, I've already gotten myself a nice wound here. Anytime you get anything like that, just lick it off. Get a nice clean rag and wipe it off. You're good to go. Make sure the rags are relatively spotless. Engine oil and grease and other contaminants that can get onto engines while driving through areas can contain pathogens or diseases that you don't want on your hands or inside your body. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a time lapse here working on this engine right here. So you can see I've already actually finished pretty much the first step to taking apart the engine. So we're going to skip the time lapse and move forward to the next step. Alright, for this part of the time lapse, I'm going to actually show you how to determine which way the motor spins. Because I'm not really sure which way it spins. This way it seems to work perfectly. No problems. It spins really, really stuck. I just can't do it by hand. So let's determine which way is the correct way to even spin this thing in the first place. Now this guy is the kick pedal for starting your motor. You see a lot of people start their motors like this. This is more common on older motorcycles, and since mine is a 1972, I believe, you would probably want to start out with a little bit of a smaller bike to begin with. There's causes of death involved with motorcycles pretty often compared to crashes on four-wheeled cars, so they can be dangerous. This is the kick pedal, like I was saying. Now, if you ever look at a motorcycle from the 70s or the 60s, or the 80s or the 90s, and even into the 2000s, and even modern ones built today, they will have this part, and that goes right over here, and that's where the piston goes up and down. Now you'll recognize that usually on the front end of the motorcycle. So imagine if I had this down below my legs, and I was sitting on the motorcycle, this is the direction the engine would be pointing, and here, right here, is the piston. So we want to find out how this guy over here is going to turn. Is it going to turn clockwise or counterclockwise? That's where this guy finally comes back into play. When you're standing on a motorcycle and you're trying to start it, you kind of go like this. This is where the Kickstarter connects, and you go vroom, boom, boom, boom. Oh yeah, that was good. Oh, looks like it's spinning it counterclockwise. But what if we got it wrong? Well, we know we didn't, because it would not work. If you try to push it this way, that's no bueno. Cut that out. Cut that out. What about if you put it on this way. Well, the problem with that, it doesn't make any sense. Your leg would be underneath the frame, inside of it, doing like that. That's not possible. There's a pencil. Any pencil will do, even a pen or a marker, a highlighter, anything like that. And just write down somewhere. I'm just going to write clockwise. CW for clockwise. And that's this thing. So if we spin it clockwise, I took apart this engine once before, and I had this piece left over. I'm not sure if this was a part of it or if this came from somewhere else. Oh no, it looks like we're bleeding again. And grab a nice clean rag and wipe it off. It gets a little bit dirty too. Grab a cleaner one. So just want to look at it and scrub it off. Wow, that's good as new. Now you see here, this is damaged. This is supposed to be connected to here. That's unfortunate. It was leaking everything, but I'm gonna use those broken ones again anyway. This is awesome. So the next thing we're gonna do is figure out why it's not spinning. Here we go with part 3 of this time lapse. Now you remember I said this spins clockwise. You know what? I wrote a problem there. I said CW for clockwise. We actually need one more C. Put an extra C on that so we don't forget. That's counterclockwise. I'm not sure why it doesn't spin. Let's try some things out. This one over here is really tight. This one too. This one's stuck in some sort of a gear. Let's try and put it in neutral. That doesn't work. Let's take this gasket out. Whoa, we almost ripped this gasket too. Seems like somebody put a little bit of adhesive under this gasket when they last replaced it. I was the last person to replace this gasket though. Razor blade. These can be found at utility stores, and they can be called carpet knives too. You use it to help peel up your gasket. We're now ready to move on to part 4 of this time lapse. Wow, it's still too strong. What about this one? I'm not sure what it does. Still not easy. What about pull on this? Not at all. So it's really stuck in there, I would say. Oh, look at that. That's wicked. If you pull on this hard enough, push on it. No, it still doesn't move. We're gonna have to try another step. And don't forget to treat yourself every once in a while. Looks like we accidentally locked ourselves out. The 6-pack here. Let's see if we can get back in. It doesn't turn anymore. It's totally stuck. Wow, now that we've made it in and we've got our refreshment pack, we're ready to continue to the next step. This step is called a break. It's common amongst most people who do work. Wow, that's cold. I wonder if I can finish this whole 6-pack in one go. On your marks, go! I think I've made it to at least 2. Looks like we're probably about 3 or 4 in. Just 2 more to go. That was relaxing. Now that we got one 6-pack down the drain, we're ready to pump some more iron. Engine, let's get to it. Wow! Oh, that's fantastic. All right, next step, we're gonna continue where we left off. Yeah, there's not much left to do. For the rest of this episode, let's tune in next time to see how we can finish this off, or how we can at least progress a little bit further now. The next thing we're going to go into the storage and get the other lever, and then we're going to use it to change gears, get this guy working properly, and race it all the way down.